All right, guys, welcome to episode 68 of the Drag Driver Pete Show. Listen, we've been talking for about the last 20 minutes before we hit this live stream with Derek Putnam and Jeremy Ortiz talking about Sick Summer. That's what we're going over tonight. That's right, we have Derek Putnam as I'm going to say like a quasi co-host slash guest. He's going to be
Yep.
talking about some of his experiences at Six Summer. He's also going to be talking with us about some of the stuff we saw at Six Summer. Well, Mr. Eric, if you'll hit that go button, let's start that intro video and then let's get into this thing, dude.
All right, let's do it.
We're gonna pack things up and hit the road, try to make it the next day.
My name is Mike Narx. I'm the host of the Drag Driver Pete Show and the Drag Driver Pete News, which happens live on Saturday mornings. And man, we've had a crazy week. Mr. Eric White, introduce yourself. Tell them what you got going on, dude.
Yeah, it's been a wild week for sure. I am Eric White, the co-host of both the show and the news. I am right now pretending to be a photographer with all these photos I took from Six Summer. It's been crazy trying to go through all those, but it's so much fun. There's so many cool photos. I'm super excited to get those out. I've got one album out last night. There'll be another one coming out tonight right after the show, and then I'll sprinkle the rest in as I can get time to go through them.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. Well, I'm pumped about tonight. I know I said that in the intro, but listen, it's intense, man. We are going over a ton of data tonight, and there's just a lot that happened during Six Summer, and we're going to talk about a bunch of it tonight. But there's a lot of articles that we're both writing that are coming out, and our guest is writing that's coming out. But let's jump into this, guys. We can't do this without you. We can't do this without our race car friends. You guys truly make this happen. This is really because of you guys. Hit the share button for us, please, as we come in here and let's get this thing kicked off. We can't do this without our sponsors who make all the travel possible. They make all these live streams possible and all that. So thank you so much to Summit Racing, Driven Racing Oil, Molly Motorsports, Car Chains 3D, WAF Racing, Performer Built Transmissions, Howard's Cams, Sweet Patina, Power Tube TV, and Racing Junk Classifieds. Listen, can't do it without them. Please, if you're going to spend some money in the car community on your car, please hit those folks up first. We're not asking you to spend all your money with them. Just spend some of it or at least give them a chance. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Let's do the Summit ad read and talk about what's going on there. And then we're probably just going to bring Derek in after that. So if he'll start getting ready in the background. Summit Racing Speed Legacy began in 1968 as a one-man startup and is now the world's speed shop with 4 facilities and 200 plus catalog editions. Fueling your passion, they save you money, deliver fast, and offer top-notch customer service for more than 1,500 brands, ours being one of them. You can buy Drag Driver Pete shirts right at summitracing.com. Make sure to download the Summit Racing mobile app right on your phone. It's right in your pocket right now, or you're watching it. For easy access to speed parts, find them on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, or find them on the On All Cylinders podcast for more automotive discussions from manufacturers and builders and everybody from building cars to racing cars. From humble origins to the social media lane, Summit Racing stands by your need for speed. You can find everything on summitracing.com. All right, well, man, let's get into this stuff because I don't want to waste any time. I want to bring Derek on. So if you will hit us with that driven ad read, we'll get down to this thing and bring him on after that.
All right. Why gamble with performance or protection when you get proven results from Driven Racing Oil? Trusted by top engine builders, winning racers, and devoted horsepower enthusiasts around the world. Driven takes legendary base oils such as the ones from Bradford, Pennsylvania, which comprise their GP1 line. Then Driven boosts that superior base with state of the art additive packages. Driven's GP1 Nitro 70 not only provides anti-wear protection, but can even shield cylinders from washout and fuel dilution caused by using methanol or nitro-based fuels. Learn more about Driven Racing Oil by following them on Facebook and Instagram at Driven Racing Oil, or shop now at drivenracingoil.com. And I just got to say, hanging out with those guys last week was awesome. Bill and Alex were super cool. They gave me a spot to come and hang out under the tent when I needed to get out of the sun. They had bottles of water for me. They were incredible. So I'm so glad that they were there and got to hang out with them.
Well, and just a fun bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
I don't think I drank any of their water, but I know I used that shade quite a bit, and they were at a perfect location at Byron, so you could just pop around the end of the truck and be right in the lane. So super cool.
Yep.
All right, well, let's bring him on, Mr. Derek Putnam. Let me get this off here, and we'll let you do some intro and all that kind of stuff. Kind of tell people who you are and what you did for Sick the Mag for Sick Summer.
I talked a lot.
a lot. Yep.
But also, as you mentioned, the fact that not only, do I announce this, but I also get to write lots of really cool stuff about all the participants that are in the Drag and Drive world, not just Sick branded events. So if you have a cool story, I've said this during drivers meetings and during awards banquets. If you have a cool story, tell me, because not only can I relay that over the mic, and I feel that that's the kind of thing that people want to hear, it's also the kind of thing I can write about for Sick the Magazine, and then Luke might be able to use it in our coverage. We might be able to do something for you on a feature, all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to be able to be in this position. And obviously talking to you guys about Sick Summer, I got Drag and Drive hangover going, so we can relive what happened last week. I'm in, baby, 100%.
Yep. Well, let's dive into that, man. Let's talk about some summer recap stuff, Sick Summer recap. So obviously tracks were Byron, Cordova, Tri-State, Great Lakes Dragway. I showed up at Great Lakes, and listen, that's one of my favorite tracks. It's super cool. I love the uphill burnout. The towers, first time I've been in the tower, dude, when was that built? 1953?
The oldest continually operating drag strip. Yes, correct.
Wow.
Little interesting tidbit. One of their local crew guys showed up last year while I was walking the racetrack because I had never been there before. And I'm like, this is cool. It's got old school flavor. The fact that the return road is in front of the grandstands. The guy walks up to me and he says, "Hey, you're going to love our racetrack. The tower actually has glass now." Like, okay.
Yeah, dude, I can't imagine that thing without glass. You'd be blasted. Yeah, that was that's a great track.
The tower is great.
Yeah.
But it's small. You could probably put about 4 or 5 people in there, and that's it.
Yeah.
So
I was number 4 in there when I was talking to you, and that was tight.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was awesome, and that's a great facility. I love all of the like the toy type stuff. They have all the statues around, and so anyways, I'm telling you, if you're out and about, go to that. But we spent a lot of time at Byron. Eric was obviously there. Everybody knows day 0, day 1, getting a ton of pictures, and then back on Friday for day 5. Dude, insanity! 317 cars. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was the number last year? It was like, was it 280 last year?
No. So no, I actually had bad memory. So Tom actually limited the cap last year to 250.
Oh, wow.
And we were right at that mark. And then I think we had somewhere between, I want to say 220 and 225. I actually started writing a recap on all the averages and everything that we did. 225, actually. 225 is the number.
So almost 100 more cars.
Yeah.
Almost 100 more cars this year compared to 2023. That's insane, man. And the second year, so for us nerds on the drag driver Pete side and the world champion points and all that kind of stuff, last year set the base, and then there were a lot broken. We're going to talk about that, not tonight, because I have not had time to get to those yet, but a lot of records have been, broken and reset and all that kind of stuff, whatever you want to say.
Correct.
The math I have, 260 cars finished.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep. You talk about
even more
about the fact that the attrition rate was actually decently low. Like the attrition rate, I believe, was only like 18.2, which is not really that bad. I mean, like normally you see about 20 to 30%, depending on the year and the weather and how hot or how brutal the drive is. Last year, it was only 11.5%, which is pretty solid.
Crazy.
But obviously, you increase by 100, you're going to get some people at props. So.
Well, but also last year, I want to say that average of everything was like in the 11s or something like that. Like if you took everything and put it in, and it's way lower than that this year. It's got to be.
So
there were some very, very fast cars there this year.
Yeah. So this year, ironically, like if you look at the average of where you've got to get in for sick week to be in the top 100, it's traditionally in the very, very high 10s, low 9, or very high 9s, low 10s. So for the most part, I figured it was probably going to be closer to high 10s, low 11s. And this year, the number 100 spot was Mike Cole's 96 Blue Avenger. He averaged 1090. So that is the number 100 spot.
That's
not
awesome.
bad for, again, much warmer. Probably not, as Thomas said, Six Summer, I think, draws a different clientele. You do see some crossover, but it's not the Super Bowl. It's not everybody's going to haul butt and we're going to be in 0 density altitude air or negative air like we were this year. At sick week. So that all plays into it.
Yep. Tina, yes, if you were faster than 1090 something, you were definitely in the top 100. That's pretty awesome. And I see Ryan Hargett saying, half the miles, half the attrition, maybe.
Could be.
Yeah, could be. I think
be.
The mileage was 600 and something this year. And typically sick week is 850, something like that. So
850, 900. Yeah. Tina, you're number 93 in case you're curious.
Hey, there you go. That's
go.
awesome. Well, let's run through a few favorite stories of yours, and then we're going to talk about the helmet picks and who all, and then classes and all the fun stuff that goes from there.
I'm glad people are embracing that fully. So, all right. So we talk about stories, and honestly, I almost hate doing this because there were so many good ones. That we could talk about, but I obviously picked out some specific ones that
here's how we word this, right? This is some of your favorites.
Some of them, yes. As a matter of fact, that's a perfect lead in. So one of the things that Luke got me started on this year for Sick Week was writing my top 5 wildest moments and my top 5 moments overall. Sorry, Sick Summer had so many good things from day to day that I started writing them down every day. So I am going to do a per day top 5. So that'll be coming out here shortly. You've already seen some stuff that we're trying to elaborate on as well, like obviously Rovic winning not only Pro Dial Your Own, but winning the 6 of the Sick deal. If you talk to him on day 3, he figured I'm in second. I've got no chance. Obviously the weather's getting warmer. There's no way he was going to win Pro Dial Your Own. Then you see him win 6 of the Sick, and it was literally like he was speechless. He had nothing to say. So anyway, so to get to the stories, first one, in my opinion, that's a feel-good story is Alan Whitaker. Got to talk about the fact that his high school car that he's owned since 17 is 72 Monte Carlo. He brought it to Sick Week this year. Unfortunately, lost piston on day number 1, decided to not carry on, so he packed it up and head home. Not only was he in the first pair out on day number 1 alongside Doug Cook, he ran his first 200-mile-an-hour blast on day 1 when he went 724. He runs his first 6-second pass on day 2, which is a 698 at 205. Then not only has to replace one piston in cylinder number 3, but oils the whole side of the car on the 3rd day and has to replace another one. But finishes, takes his 23-year-old daughter along for the ride the whole way. And it is just like I said, it's a feel-good story. I mean, Alan is probably the most happy guy that I saw in a parking lot at 2 a.m. in the morning changing a piston. You're not supposed to, but.
Yeah. And, man, listen, to go 200 miles at 200.53 on day 1, it was the first pass down the track. Everybody understand that. The first pass down the track. They had just prepped, obviously, which makes it great, but nobody else had ran before him that morning.
And it was side by side too. Both him and Doug. I want to say Doug went 726, and both of them went above 200 miles an hour. So to open, yes, I'm going to show my bias here. Open with a pair of classic muscle cars, both of them running bottom 7s over 200 miles an hour. I mean, that you could literally be asleep on your feet, and that is going to wake you up for what's coming. There is no better way, in my opinion, or very few, to start a drag and drive. That is going to get you pumped.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So So that's the first story. The second story, in my opinion, to talk about is Doug Cook. Bring the fact back that this is his first time that he has competed in a drag and drive in that car since Rocky Mountain Race Week 2021. Unfortunately, he had an accident in it. He's been out testing it. He's gotten so close to the sixes, ran a couple of 7.0s here in much worse weather conditions than what he's been running at in Bradenton. So, I didn't think he'd run a 6. I was hoping he would. That would be great to celebrate, but it just didn't happen. Unfortunately, he lost the trans brake in the car, and then he had to foot brake it, but still one super street, as far as we know, reset the super street record, or at least got close to it with his average, because I know him and Dave and Nick Deal were both trying to go quicker than, like, say, 740, 750, which is kind of where it sat. Both of them were aiming for it, and both of them looked good for the first 2 days. But anyway, Doug Cook bringing his car back after 2.5 years, really hard to not look at that and say that's really cool.
Yeah, to come out and take a swing like that, and to go several 7.0s. 704, 706, above 200 multiple times, like, just amazing, man. It's awesome.
Yep, and with 60 foots in the 127 to 130 range. So obviously the car has a lot left in it, and it's still on leaf springs. So I think give him more time, he'll get there. I mean, he has publicly stated it's an LT style power plant. He's running something that not very many other people are, so it's going to take some time to get used to it. So that's the second one. Third one for me, I'll go for the thrash story. Bob Gruber, guy who competed on Six Summer last year with a pro-charged stick shift Mustang, had all kinds of problems. Finished the week, was happy as heck to have done it. Comes to sick week this year, runs his first 8-second pass. His crew guy, Nick, who runs the shop that basically helps put the car together for him, is ecstatic. You can tell if they make a good pass just by looking at him. You don't even need to look at him.
Oh, yeah.
So Gruber is, kicking butt, doing well. And then day 2, I get to Motion Raceworks. They already have the place closed. They're pretty much done. They've got like 24 people. This thing is strewn all over the friggin' parking lot like a yard sale. And I'm like, what's going on? They go, well, we think we damaged the cam. I look on as they're yanking a cylinder head off of it. One of the valves is broken in half on the tip. And I'm like, okay. So they somehow thrashed for 12 hours, get it all back together, go to Tri-State, run an 880 right off the road, turn it in, and find that they have a broken rocker. The next day, he goes 856, a personal best, jumps to the top of the stick class. Then him and Dan Hart, who was leading until day 4, switch back and forth and end up like not even that far apart from each other. I think it was less than 5 or 6 thousandths or something.
If
I remember correctly.
Throughout the whole day, like, I mean, literally, I had my sheet of paper, which I also left on the counter inside. I was watching everybody's pass, and that was one of the classes I was watching, and had done the math. Like, Gruber needed to be quick, like he needed to have a narrower margin than 800ths to win the class. Like, that's how close it was on the last day. He had to be within 800ths, and I think he was within 600ths because it was like a 870 something to like an 876 to an 881 or something like that. Hang on.
It was close. And honestly, I think he went up and made more than one because Hart actually ran quicker than he did on the last day. And I actually just pulled it up. It was 5 thou. It was 872.7 to 873.2. So 5 thou separates number 1 from number 2. And Dan Hart was tied on the first day of stick shift, one of 2 guys to go 8.620. The other one was our friend Brian Crane with the blue 2003 model Mustang.
So
went through I think at least one clutch disc that week. I think he went through possibly 2, but I think he went through at least 1.
Yeah, so Dan finished, like, his pass on the last day was 875 with a 4, and Gruber's was 881 with a 1. So 5
so he made
5.7.
Yeah, so he made a big jump to take the lead on day 4, 856 to an 875, and then gives almost all of it back on the final day, but hangs on. So
it was intense, man. It was really fun to watch it, and I'm glad I went up because earlier in the year I was not going to make that trip. Because Rocky Mountain starts this weekend. All the stuff that goes on at the house and all that kind of stuff. But man, I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
I'm glad it did.
It was
No,
fun.
it was absolutely insane. I mean, like, again, thank you for, letting me know about at Tri-State, because obviously we'll touch on the 850 thing here in a little bit. But the fourth thing, in my opinion, and again, this is a feel-good story, because as I started putting together the whole father-son, father-daughter thing, there are probably easily 24 of them that are competing in
Minimum.
Six Summer. Now,
Yeah.
granted, to my remembrance, Tom moved everything a week from last year, because up north, granted, I'm from Florida, so we're done with school usually by the beginning of June or very close to it. But when we went up there last year, a lot of people were like, we won't be out of school, and kids won't be out of school until this date. So if you guys delay it, then we have a chance of bringing the whole family out and watching it, or bringing the whole family and participating.
Yeah.
I don't want to say
That's
that's
cool.
Tom's 100% reason for doing it, but I'm sure it probably was at least considered. So,
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd hope so.
yeah. So you probably at least saw one of their cars, but the Reimers family, they participated
One
last
of them,
year.
shit, dude.
One
Those
of them,
guys
there were a whole
like
bunch.
they adopted Mike Turner, and
They
then
did.
and then they abducted Jesse Fox. Like,
Yeah, so they made sure. So they had the Ford base and the Willie base covered. They had most of the classes covered. Let's go ahead and adopt Mike Turner, who's done a bunch of these. So you've got your Mopar friend handled. Then let's adopt as Adam Dory would call it, Silverado. So you've got that part covered too. So by the end of the weekend, they had 6 people, but 4 in their family. So last year at Six Summer, Cole, the son of Jim Reimers, but the 2 uncles, Mike and Rick, can compete in the faster cars. Mike drives the orange Cobra Jet in what this year was Pro Daluron. Last year he ran Daluron.
Mhm.
And Rick runs the yellow 41 Willys pickup truck in the Gasser class. So I'm sitting here trying to go, did I say those all correctly? I'm like trying to remember, because I have no screen to cheat on. So last year, Cole comes out and participates in his first ever one with his purple Mustang, which I thought did the biggest burnouts for an 11-second car ever.
Dude.
And by, I guess, at the end of the weekend, they probably were like, okay, your tires are getting a little worn out. We got to reel those in a little bit.
Yeah.
So then Cole's brother, Jace, who participated in a kind of rusty red 85, I want to say, LTD, got his license the day before registration.
Oh, wow.
He showed up on day 0 with a freshie and finished his first ever. He had not even, from what I was told, and hopefully I'm getting this right, he didn't drag race at all. He had never raced anything, let alone a test and tune, and shows up to friggin' Six Summer. I'm like, dude, talk about like excitement, but a whole lot of pressure.
Being and within that group, because Mike in the Mustang, like he currently holds the drag week SME record at 10:030. Like, that car's fast, and that's why he went to Pro DYO, because he was tired of being limited by 10:0. He wanted to go up and do more. So that was kind of cool, and like to have that as your uncle. I mean, come on, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was. So those are probably, I would say, the 4 stories that we would talk about. Now, you and I discussed some story ideas, and I'll throw something out to lead into that. The Daluron and Pro Daluron, they have traditionally been where you get some people that really do understand, like, hey, I'm just not going to go out there and make a pass. I'm going to go out there and make several hits and get something that I can turn in. Well, I knew, looking at the weather, that somebody who planned ahead, or at least had the thought to plan ahead, was going to have to come into it, unless it was just a freak occurrence. We went from 500 feet above sea level. We were, 51 degrees on Monday morning. That's insane. I mean, I loved it, but I knew it was going to be gone in 2 days. Well, when you go from 400 or 500 feet above sea level at Byron to 3,700 feet at Tri-State. Tri-State was 2,600 feet above sea level at midnight when I went to sleep. I was like, your car's going to move.
Yeah.
Unless you've got nitrous or you turn it up or something, it's going to move. So, like, Rovic went from being a thou apart in his to being almost 200ths apart in his by the time he got to Tri-State, because he just kept running it and he couldn't get any closer. So he's like, I'm in second. I've got no chance, blah, blah, blah. So I started paying attention to it, and I was like, okay, are these freak or people figuring it out? So the weather was interesting to watch, not only Daluron and Pro Daluron, but also watch the lead changes in some of the classes that you and I will talk about, as far as how people made adjustments, who obviously still had some left in reserves, who didn't.
Yeah, and who could turn it up? Who could turn it down? Down
Correct.
is probably
Yeah.
a good thing some mornings. Well, let's talk about this orange helmet deal because I love it. I think it's a great idea. It's really, really cool, and it's something that I feel like is usable, which is a huge win. But it's
Yep.
also something that like has become this huge badge of honor. So I grabbed some pictures from the winners of the guys because one of the biggest things is to take these helmets and do regular stuff with them, right? Like
Yes.
things that you're not supposed to be doing in a helmet and do that. So we've got Bob Gruber on the left here taking a call from work, I'm assuming, right? He's working hard. And
Yeah,
then
it's amazing how the sound goes through those helmets. I mean, just,
yeah, I'm sure it doesn't. This is all for act here, gotta be.
Yeah.
'Cause we know he's not working. He's looking at race car parts. And then the other side is Brian Acton and Jay Blanchard on their way home, and they're just cruising down the road. Can you imagine pulling up next to these dudes? You're just driving along. You look over in this truck that's got this big old trailer in the back. And it's two dudes wearing orange helmets.
Yeah.
I'm in. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's some good ones here too. I mean, like there's some that I was like, okay, when I don't know if, and I wrote about this. I don't know if he's the first guy to ever do it, but Richard Guido was the first guy that I ever saw put them out there. Like I said, I don't know if somebody did it before him or not, but he was doing them like you said, regular everyday life. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, let's not let these sit on a shelf and collect dust, guys and gals. Come on, let's use them. And
let's enjoy them.
Yeah, and I said that during the awards ceremony, and sadly, be careful what you wish for. Some guy actually posted a photo within an hour of him in the urinal, actually with the helmet on.
Nice, that's awesome. Yep. So I just ran through and grabbed just a few of these. These are one per winner that I saw. But Raj here on the left side of the screen, driving his car probably back to the pits, I would think, or back to his trailer, or back to home. Who knows with that dude? He may be driving that thing to the house in Canada. And then Tim Blythe on the right side of this eating sushi in that deal.
I think the only reason he's wearing it is because you can actually see it. If he was in the Triumph, I don't think you'd see it. It's so small.
Yeah, right. Yep, that's exactly right. And then Ken Cuttle Jr., who won the NA Big Block, he's working there on the right, or on the left, doing his normal deal. And then Blaine, our buddy Blaine Sark, on the right side there, editing videos. He's not wearing it, editing the video, I think, because seeing all the stuff. So I love this. I think it's a lot of fun seeing the creativity that everybody has.
Yeah, I will give Blaine a pass because I appreciate quality video, and I think the X and the O might make it where you might miss something. And
you're having.
But yeah, we'll give him a pass. But the other guys made it work.
Trackside Media said, I unfortunately witnessed the bathroom ordeal.
What do you mean? Unfortunately, you were in the presence of greatness. He was the first one. Unless somebody did it at the award ceremony, which I think people did. I think Blaine actually put his on immediately.
Awesome. Yep.
Yeah. But all right, so we talked about the helmets.
Yeah.
And that was amazing.
Yeah, let's get into some classes. Because this is where my nerdiness kind of comes out and it's a lot of fun to deal with. So we want to talk about 275. Let's just start out with the tightest class in all of them for the weekend or for the week was 275 street race. This class 0.00008 average difference between number one and number two.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that again for people that are listening on the podcast. 0.00008 average difference.
Yeah.
It can't get any closer, I don't think. I don't know. Maybe it will one day. I don't know. That's pretty dang close. Why don't you tell us what the inch difference is on that?
So if you were plotting it over a race, like you were actually going to show what 8/10,000ths of a second difference is, it's 2.2 inches. Now that's on a race.
Yeah.
And as you and I talked about a little bit before the show, I think it would be interesting, especially considering how much everything jumped around in that class, because I actually mapped it out per day, how much it moved. If you look at the difference in between first, second, and even third and fourth on some days, if you look at how much difference that was, where you would go from, say, oh, it's 2 or 3 feet. Okay, well, now it's down to 19 inches. Okay, now it's down to 12 inches. Holy crap, like it's getting close, whatever. But yeah, it is interesting to look at it as far as an actual measurement beyond time. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy. You're within, your fingers don't get that small. Most likely, as you spread that across 5 days, 4 different tracks, 5 days, 5 completely different weather conditions. This class, y'all know, I love it. I love the 850 classes. I love them to death. That's my jam. This just cements that. What's really cool is both guys, Chris, Mary, and Jeremy Ortiz, these two dudes right here, both ran perfect passes during the week on the same freaking day, dude. How does that even happen? How's that happen?
So before we get away from it, the 0.0008 margin, not the first time it's happened either. It happened because he popped in. I have to say it. It happened at Sick Week 2023, where Willie Luan, for his second helmet, won the Street Race 275 class over Jordan Boudreau by that exact same margin.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if there's been one closer than that, but that's pretty friggin' amazing to consider that it's happened not once, but twice in a little over a 1.5-year span.
Hang on just 1 second. I'm only going to do this for 1 second. We talked about having helmets earlier.
Hey, Chris Mary's wearing his. Awesome. I love it. He's fully embracing helmet challenge. I like it.
Yes. Yes. That's pretty cool. All right.
So let's get back on the 850 thing. And this is, I could say, nerding out because, as you mentioned, the whole data thing. So I will personally apologize because I leaned on you. We talked about it beforehand. So we thought it was the 8th and the 9th. It's not. It was the 9th and the 10th. So still a really small amount, but here's something screwy to wrap your head around. So according to what Michael Narx and I found out, the first time that the 850 happened in a class that limited it was a 2019 Hot Rod Drag Week, where it happened in the same class within 2 days, and neither person won. That's even screwier. So it was, who was it? I have it written down here. Rick Steinke and Jim Braun. Jim Braun's only drag and drive appearance as a driver or a competitor. So then Dustin Trance did it 3 years later. And then for whatever reason, and I'm going to assume that it's because of the weather probably more than anything else, Sick Week is responsible for four of the next 7. But then ironically, Tim Flanders goes perfect 850 at Tri-State last year, which was day 4, not day 3, but still. And then this year we come back and we get not 1, but 2 people that again run 850 perfect at Tri-State. And I damn near lost my mind on the first one. And then the fact that Mary comes up and does it after Jeremy does it is like, am I even seeing this correctly? Okay, whoa.
Yeah.
And then you reminded me that it happened twice at Sick Week this year, but not on the same day. This is the first time that it has ever happened on the same day. The other times, which have been 2, there was at least a day between the 2.
Yeah, pretty intense, man. To think that's why those guys are on tonight. Like Chris and Jeremy are both on tonight after Derek, because of to have those conversations. Like, how do you do that? How do you run perfect, but how do you continue to stay mentally sharp to run that all week? So we're going to have to kind of blast through some stuff or we're going to be over.
Right.
So it was obviously a dogfight from day 1 in that class. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we bring those guys on later. So I don't want to dig into that too much right now, but the class was won by Chris Mary. And then second was Jeremy, and literally 0.0008 in the difference.
Right.
Craziness, man. Craziness. Let's move to 6 Street Race, because that's another 850 class. And I just want to get your take. Why are there 2? Is it because they wanted to, like, a tire limitation, and 6 Street Race follows like drag week rules?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, looking at the difference between the fact that Hot Rod has 4 different classes and then we have 2, but if you look at the rules, there's some suspension differences. Mm-hmm. One does not allow aftermarket wings and so forth. So I think that there is something to be said about the fact that they each bring their own unique challenge. I mean, could you combine them? Sure. But I have to wonder if it would be for the better or not. You know, like there's times where you look at Hot Rod Drag Week and you go, there's 4 of them. They've got street race, then power out or naturally aspirated, small block or big block. If you tried to even narrow them into 2, I have to wonder, would you get everybody to come back to them, or would they say, nah, because you don't have something separate, I'm not going to do it. So,
but
it does bring a
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to give a big shout out to Cameron Alley. Dude took second place, led all week. Shears the teeth off of the ring gear.
Yeah, just literally.
Gets pushed out of the lanes. I had to look at my phone to get these numbers. Had pushed out of the lanes at 2:22 p.m. Returns to the burnout box at 4:25 p.m. Fixed it in 2 hours and was back making passes. And his pass when he came back was his 865.
No, actually, the 865 was the number he ran first.
Yeah.
Then
he ran.
Then strips the ring gear. Knows he probably has to turn it up in order to be able to get back to where he needs to. If I remember correctly, either went 44 or 45.
Yep.
Then on the 4th and unfortunately final pass for him, he goes 8.498.
Yeah.
And looks like he grenades the engine, which unfortunately happened last year, which is why his 855 is what he turned in. Yep. Thankfully, I found out. Thank you, Alan. I couldn't remember if it was 844 or 845. Thankfully, I heard that the blower belt came off the car and snagged the tranny line. So that's why we saw so much white smoke. So thankfully, no motor explosion. But by the time he got it cleaned up in the shutdown area and got back to the pits, we had already closed the lanes because we were running late anyway. So yeah, it's got to suck getting kicked in the teeth, finishing second for the second straight year, especially like you said, after leading all week. Yeah. And Acton was nowhere close on day 1 or day 2, and then they started chipping away at it, and they finally got there. So the fact that Acton, who, in my opinion, on day 0 looked like the guy to beat, considering he went 850 with a 1 and then an 851 pass. So I figured, okay, he's got it all tuned in. He's coming off of a win. It dropped the hammer. He already won sick week this year. This is your possible, guy that's going to just repeat.
Oh, yeah. Well, and for Brian Acton and Jay, they said that they found a wire that had been crimped incorrectly or something somewhere in there, and they found that Wednesday night, and you can see their performance was back on track on Thursday, Friday with 51s.
There you go.
Then so that is 4 for 4 for Brian Acton this year.
Yes,
and he's been it's crazy. Sick week. The circuit, they won the 850 class there, dropped the hammer, 545 class, and now 6 summer. I mean, these dudes are they're on it big time. And I want to give a big shout out to TJ Linebaugh, who was tied for first going into day 4 with what my math looks like an 8.519.667. Like it goes all the way out. They were tied. Pretty crazy.
TJ and Brian ran each other, I want to say, at Great Lakes. It was either Great Lakes or Tri-State. They ran each other, I want to say, 4 times. They literally paired with each other 4 separate times. And I'm like, okay. And, at some tracks, because the speakers work better than others, which is why I think it's a Great Lakes, you could see Jay, kind of talk to me, give me thumbs up, are we going to come back? Are we not? Yeah. But I remember, I think it was at Great Lakes where they went 851-1 right out of the gate. Like you said, the performance was back. Most people would figure, turn it in, get on the road, get out of there. Nope. They kept sitting there and hammering away at it. And I'm like, okay. So,
One cool stat I did see is that Brian and Jay ran the quickest of the class both Thursday and Friday. So they turned in the best passes those days. So again, that's why this class is my favorite, but also that's why Drag and Drive is so important on building a reliable car that can last the week. And nothing against Cameron, because dude, his car lasted all week. It was his to lose 100%. But you go into the last few days and dude, shears a ring gear. How do you plan for that? You can't even plan for that. So pretty crazy, but I thought it was really wild that TJ and Cameron were tied for first going into day 4. Just intense, man.
Which puts Brian in third, which is wild to come in and then end up taking it. But at Byron, they were just sitting there waiting to see. I mean, they were watching each other. I remember going by and he's like, well, they're not done yet. So I think it was day 1. They were waiting to see. And Yeah, it was just wild. They were going back and forth. Brian and TJ were pitted together. So again, like you said, once their class got called, typically they went up together
Right.
and paired with each other. And Cameron's a local guy to me. He lives probably about 5 minutes from my house to his house.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I see this car around town all the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he's updated the signage on the side of it. Like the fact that car used to be green and then they wrapped it orange and then they had 6 summer 2023 stickers on it. Now they have 24 stickers on it. He says it's still orange, but it's slightly dirty sick orange is what he told me. And then of course I'm a Nova guy anyway. So Acton's car, I mean, that car obviously has proven itself over the last couple of years. He's got that thing pretty sorted. He made some changes to it, I want to say, right after Sick Week last year that obviously helped it out a little bit because, like you said, he's I mean, as good as we sit here and talk about certain people like even Brian Goldstone, who won his second race or won his second event of the year, defended 6 summer from last year. Acton's on fire, dude. 4 event wins in 1 year, and we're just getting into the middle point.
And here's the biggest part of winning a limited class like that is that you can't go as fast as the car can go. Like Goldstone can lay it out. It doesn't matter. He's just metal, pedal to the metal the whole way, all on the floor. Doesn't matter. But those guys are looking like, at 873 feet. Oh man, I need to lift 10%. So I don't go too fast, All right, let's go to Pro DYO. We're running out of time here.
Yep, we got to get on it.
Sorry, I knew having you on would be hard for me. So Pro DYO, all cars completed the event. How cool is that?
Cool.
That's
crazy.
Awesome. Yeah. The top 4 cars. And Pro DYO is based on your spread from your slowest to your fastest pass. The top 4 cars were separated by 0.019. Crazy, right? 8 of the 9 cars had better than 0.5 spread or less. Okay. The 7 of the 9 cars had a spread of like 0.19 or 0.196 or less.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, 0.196 or less. So to be competitive in that class, you have to be within less than 0.2 total spread. 4 racetracks, 5 days.
And again, the weather shift, it begs to be said, the weather shift of almost 3,000 plus density altitude, which depending on how fast your car is an easy 10th and a half, if not more. I mean, that's a lot.
Wild. So. Yep. Dan Dinan ran the quickest pass of the class at a 9.201. So quick as well. They're not slow. And then Raj Rovic from the Yukon wins the class and the sickest of the sick trophy. I love that. I think he has earned that 100% for sure. Love that dude. He's amazing. So congratulations to him. And we saw his picture with the helmet earlier. He won by a margin of 0.004. Right? Yeah. 0.004. His spread was 0.044 to Eric in the white GTO to 0.048. Crazy.
Yeah, that's close.
I probably lost somebody with all the 4s there, but listen, it was really tight. It was really tight.
Yeah, 4,000s, and the fact that Rovek on the first 2 days turned in time slips 1,000th apart, 1,000th, and then by day 3 it was like 200s. But anyway, also the guy that we are going to have to make a note on this at some point still claims to have the most runs in a single day. He made 26 at Death Week last year. And the thing was still running what it should have been running, but I'm sure that Oldsmobile was begging for mercy. Anyway.
So to give people an example of how many runs that is, Brian Acton and Jay Blanchard made 30 runs all week.
Yeah.
They made 30 runs all week.
And not only that, he goes to Rock Falls and lays out a 60-second long burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he went through 3 pairs of tires, if I'm not mistaken. I think by the end of the week, we were calling him the guy that turns shredded tires into slicks.
That's exactly right.
Yes, and that bears a mention. Let me throw that out there real quick. I wrote a story about the fact that he won Sickest of the Sick. His quote, without even me pressing, "Why are you constantly out there mopping and taking care of other people?" And he said, "If I can make somebody's experience just a little bit better, I will do it. He goes, if I don't line them up and they're in the wrong spot on the racetrack because they don't know what they're doing or whatever, and they spin, they're going to roll down the racetrack slowly. Everybody else is going to go slower. They're going to have to come back around. He goes, if I can help somebody else, why wouldn't I do it? It makes for a better overall experience.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah,
again, the guy who doesn't think he deserves sickest of the sick, I guarantee you, if you talk to him, he would say that, but very well deserving of it.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. DYO class, crazy tight on that one as well. Bunch of passes made by DYO racers. Class count 112 started the event, 96 finished. That's a huge win for that class. That's gigantic. And how many people were in Bullseye? I didn't look that up.
The Bullseye class actually had a decent number. It was, if you count the ones that did not finish, we had a total of 28 cars in Bullseye.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a bunch, and that's really cool for that class as well to see that kind of growth that quick. So, Greg Jones and Jonathan Sonecipher, who were on the Drag Driver Pete show before we went to Sick Summer, were fighting to stay in second. I mean, literally pass after pass after pass, trying to get there. Slipped to 8th on day 5. They were number 2 going into day 5, slipped to 8th after, listen to this, they ran in 11.861, turned in an 11.861 on Friday because that was their best pass. Their spread before that, 11.904 to 11.914.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, the air, especially as you get slower, affects the car more. So the number 2 finisher, Amber Matz, who lives in my hometown in Gainesville, Florida, same thing. She's a bracket racer, ran junior dragster, so it was the same thing. She's paying attention to what she's turning in. And after making 4 or 5 runs on the 3rd day, they're like, well, our average is going to go up, or our spread is going to go up. But they ended up hanging on. So,
I think she was 1st and then 3rd. And I haven't done all the math on that class. I did a few things, but the top 18 cars in that class were less than a 10th.
Correct.
18 cars had less than a 10th spread across 5 days of racing, 4 different tracks. The top 32 cars were within 2/10.
Yeah. And again, I think pulling back a little, if you look at Sick Summer last year, the idea of how close that racing is, and again, the weather shift is huge. If you compare that to the previous year where the weather was very consistent from day 1 all the way to the final day, on the final set, it was even closer than that. It was 0.021, 021, and 0.019. Those are your top 3. So even closer. And like I said, you throw the weather aspect out of it, it's still pretty solid, but I'm sure that had something to do with it.
Right. And I just wanted folks to understand, like, that class is, you are ET limited to 10.0. There were a few people that went 10.0 numbers. The fastest pass of the class, 10.010. Slowest pass of the class was the almost 31 second of the Impala on day 5. But all week, I think he had ran like mid-20s, right? So you can bring anything to this class and have fun.
Yeah, our slowest guy from previous year, the last year, I forget what he was driving, but it was a Camaro. And he said that he had saved up all his money to come out and run it and what have you, and just have a good time and what have you. Wyatt Schultz, that's his name. I knew it was on the tip of my tongue. He actually came back this year and the car's a little bit quicker. So, but he still competed. So that was cool.
He has swapped the Camaro, the V6 3rd gen Camaro, for the big maroon wagon that came out. They call Rosie.
That's it. Rosie. Yep.
Winner of DYO is Daniel Balk. Awesome, great looking car, great guy. I talked to him for about 12 seconds in the lanes as he was getting ready to make a pass. His spread, again, 0.13 across 5 days. Absolutely intense. Quickest pass, or I think slowest pass of the week was on day 3. So he knew what he had to do. And that's what I think is cool about DYO is the window you have to keep in. So if your day 1 is low, 12.886, and your day 3 is 12.899, you've got to be between that to hold your spread down. So it makes it easier.
Yeah, the great thing that I love about this is, that El Camino right there is something that, in my opinion, is very attainable, like you've talked about
Yep.
before, to a lot of people. And you do
Yeah.
not, it proves that you can come out and have a shot of winning something or even placing top 10 without spending a ton of cash to get in and do it.
Yep. Yeah. This is a simple 6-liter LS and I think a turbo 400 trans. Just, I mean, this is a car that most folks could put together that are watching this show.
Yep.
Yep. Pretty amazing. Moving on to, Unlimited, which I didn't grab a photo of Tim Blythe. We talked about him earlier in the Triumph Spitfire. Sorry about that, Tim. I apologize. We are doing a write-up on him about this, but he rolled to the beams, pushed to the beams, started the car up, broke the beams, took his 20, would have taken his 20, because he pulled it under power, goes back to the pits. And when his wife came up, it was basically like I don't even know what he did anymore. They rewired half the car, is what she said, to get in it. Now, I know they were struggling at Great Lakes. They had a lot of people there trying to give them wiring advice. They had a crank sensor situation. They essentially rewired in a factory crank sensor to make it work and drive, but he wasn't going to be able to make a pass. So he had to wire in the go fast button to get there, and then go to drive it, had this whole other wiring thing together. So then they get to day 5 and have to do the same thing. It was crazy, man. It's crazy. I love it.
Yeah, that car's come a long way since he debuted it back at Sick Week 2022. I mean, it was running 11s, and he's already run 770s with it.
Yeah, and like when he came out in 22, that car was pretty wild, and it was factory front suspension, factory front Triumph Spitfire suspension and brakes. It is not that anymore. Lengthened it like 8 or 10 inches. It's basically a pro mod under that body. And his goal is 6s, man. Crazy.
I have no doubt he'll get there, and doing it with an overdrive transmission too. I believe it's a 4L80E. I believe is what he has in it.
Yep. And you guys can watch that on Blythe Life, BLYTHE Life Racing, Blythe Life Racing. Great channel, great folks, great couple. Love them. I hope all the success in the world to them people. They're amazing. So let's talk about Rowdy Radial as we get into the last bit here. I did not grab a picture of Nathan McMasters, but most of my notes are about him because he led all week. So Nathan McMasters, Matt Arwood, and Blaine Stark went at it all week long in Rowdy Radial 235 class. This race was one to watch, in my opinion. I think this was a lot of fun. Those cars either spun or going down at that kind of power level on a 235 in the 8th mile is got to be a tuner's game, right?
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you consider the fact that the track temperature at a lot of these places, once we got into Wednesday, was north of 125 to 130 degrees. So that's touchy already. And then when you look at how small that 26 8.5 tire is, it was good. Like you said, the top 3 up until the final day was very close.
Yep. So Nathan led all week. Biggest lead was 0.058 after day 2. That was the biggest lead of the week. Can you imagine being that tight on an all-out class? Not ET limited, can't turn in something, all that kind of stuff. Nathan's best pass of the week came on Thursday, 5:06 with a 4, and then his slowest pass of the week was on Friday with a 5:35 that he submitted anyways. Now, these are submitted times I'm talking about here. So walk us through what happened on Friday, because I didn't get to see a lot of his passes. What do you think was the struggle with getting to the 5:35 after running 5.0s most of the week?
Honestly, I think that it was, from my recollection, the ET limit of what you can turn in, because we're looking at quarter-mile clocks. So that's part of it. I do know that Blaine couldn't turn in a couple of them. I can't remember, for certain which one, but I do know that at one point, the fact that, again, the class just kept raising and how close it was, because McMaster and Blaine Stark just separated themselves. And they ran that 5:06 you talked about McMaster running. Blaine ran 5:10 right next to him, and then came back and ran 5:09. So the gap got even tighter for the final day. And
Wow.
they wanted to win so badly that they actually called Precision and actually ordered a bigger turbo for that car and
Yeah.
swapped it, I believe, on Wednesday night. So
Yep.
that was part of it. But after not making it out of day one because the Gen 2 Coyote finally gave up the ghost after a lot of abuse, according to Doug Cook.
Yep.
For a 16-year-old kid, after attending drag and drive since 2019, to be able to come back, handle that car, pedal it when he needed to, drive it right, and be able to win his first title at age 16,
Yeah.
you almost need to take a step back and just let that soak in for a second. That is a truly remarkable feat.
Well, and to be involved at the level that they are is awesome, because it's not that, he just shows up. Like he's building his own car. He works and wrenches with his dad on his dad's car, which is a stick shift car, which makes it even harder. And he's been doing it since 2019. I mean, think about that. A kid's like 11 or 12 years old when they started this.
Yeah, I don't want to expand on it because I know we've talked about the time limitation and everything. But the one thing that I said to Tom Stark, because I grew up going with my dad to watch when there were no juniors, is I said, I watched your son pull you into the beams up until this year. Now roles reversed. And you can see that even though I'm sure he thought about it, he literally stopped and couldn't say anything for probably a good 5 to 10 seconds. He goes, yeah, it's really hard. It's great. But at the same time, to watch it come full circle. And not only was Blaine doing it, but his sister, Mac Stark, was also driving her Mustang, and she completed the week.
Which had a hard time too. They're going to be on in a couple weeks to talk about the struggle they had, because Mac's car blew the blower up on day one. They had to reroute the all new not hose, but belt, all the stuff that comes along with that. And then now you got a car set up for a blower that's not getting any boost. I mean, crazy stuff there. So real quick, and then we'll sadly have to let you go to get these other guys in time. But Blaine bolts up the new turbo, goes from 520s to 509 on day 4, and then they just let it all hang out on day 5. Runs the best of a 491 with a 5.
Yep, they turned it up. Unfortunately, the Legend of El Toro bit them on the 4th day, and they flipped the trailer. That's happened to Doug Cook 3 times. And they brought a trailer 2 days before they jumped out there, and they flipped it on the 4th day. So that continues. So, but guys, I know you got more important people to talk to as far as people that actually did something on the racetrack. So.
Well, hey, so before you go, tell everybody where they can follow you, because that's important. We got to keep up with our Derek Putnam. So social media, and then the next event you're at, and then what you're writing about next.
So I am working on the top 100 averages, also all the quickest single-digit runs and all that kind of stuff. That's going to come out this week. I've got some for the adventure story that we're going to have every Thursday. As you've probably talked to Adam Dory about a little bit, he does a column for us, or a piece for us now every week on Sick Week, or most weeks. So he's doing stuff. What I am doing next is an NMCA and MRA event in July, where we will do a 6 shootout at US 131 Motorsports Park.
Sweet.
And you can find me at Derek Putnam. I'm the only guy with a green Nova in the background on Facebook, at least as far as I know. And you can also find me on Instagram. I post there every now and then at The Real Derek Putnam.
Sweet. Hey, thank you so much for coming on tonight, dude. I really appreciate it. And I know we could go a couple hours. This was literally hard to stop making notes for the Derek Putnam time here on the Drag Driver Pete Show. Again, guys, make sure you go and follow Derek everywhere, and make sure you follow Sick the Mag, because this dude's a big part of that. So we got to support them. So, all right, dude, thank you very much, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was good seeing both of you at Byron, and look forward to our next one. We got Rocky Mountain Race Week coming right down the pike.
Bring it on, bud. Bring it on.
See you,
man.
Have a good one, guys.
Man, talk about a fun night. We hadn't gone 2.5 hours in a long time.
No, but I kind of had a feeling with everything that we were covering the week that we had. I saw Alex from Driven Racing Oil was in here talking about the 240, nice. So that was cool. Yeah, I had a feeling that tonight was going to go a little bit long, just because we had so much to talk about. We had a busy week. I mean, you came over, stayed the night at the house, crashed here for the night, and got up and drove home. And it was a fun week. And I, again, wish we could do it so much more. Like, it's so much fun hanging out with everybody.
Yeah. And we can. You know how we can make that possible? Our race car friends.
Yes. Yes.
You guys will
Yes.
hit that share button, please. I know we're ending the show, but listen, folks got to know you've been over here watching this. We cannot do this without you guys, and your support means. I'm telling you, I know I say it all the time. And you're probably tired of hearing it, but listen, your support means a bunch to us. We're literally two dudes that live 10 hours apart that live and breathe drag and drive. It's all we do. It's all we talk about. It's all we follow, except for a little bit of Midwest Drag Race Series Pro Mod stuff for me. But listen, I'm telling you, Drag and Drive is my life. Drag and Drive's Eric's life. It's what happens. So thank you for being our race car friends. Thank you so much for all the stuff you guys do for us out there. We appreciate that. And
Yeah, comments have been nuts tonight. So
oh yeah,
that's incredible.
I hadn't even looked at I haven't pulled anything up in a long time. It's 107. So thank you so much for everybody that's made comments. Thanks to Eric for running that. Everybody give him a big round of applause because he runs that and watches the notes and asks questions and does the ad reads and all that kind of stuff. So he's the man. Thank you to our sponsors for making all of this possible. Summit Racing, Driven Racing Oil, Molly Motorsports, Car Change 3D, WAF Racing, Performer Built Transmissions, Howard's Cams, Sweet Patina, Power Tube TV, and Racing Junk Classifieds. You all make it the whole world go round for us, and we appreciate it. And I'm hitting end now. Thank you guys. We'll see you soon.
Like this show? Want more? Then head to WatchPTTV.com, the new 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Home of the best classic and new motorsports racing and build shows on the web.